We can build a parallel system that puts people before profit because a small town in Spain has already shown us how. They didn't go off grid. They didn't leave the country. They couldn't vote their way out of the situation because they were living under a dictatorship. So they built a whole new economic system alongside the one that already existed. But what most people don't know is what made it actually work. If you've ever wondered what it takes to build a real alternative, not a theory, not a small experiment, but something that has actually worked at scale, this is the series that breaks it all down, starting here. In the aftermath of a civil war, and while much of Europe was rebuilding after World War II, a priest and 5 workers started the first network of autonomous, democratic, worker-owned businesses, worker cooperatives. They built their own economy from scratch, their own factories, their own welfare fund, a housing program, even their own university. And they did it all within one generation. Today, Mondragon employs over 70,000 member owners and generates over 11 billion euro in annual turnover. It's the largest cooperative complex in the world, and it all began with 5 people living under a dictatorship. So how did they do it? Because back in the early 1900s, 2 of Britain's most respected social scientists, Beatrice and Sidney Webb, studied worker co-ops and concluded all such associations of producers either fail or cease to be democracies of producers. In plain terms, they believed that co-ops would either collapse as businesses or drift into hiring non-members while a few owners kept control. And to be fair, that pattern did hold up in a lot of cases. Even here in the UK, many early worker co-ops struggled to access capital, build long-term support systems, and scale beyond a single workplace. Most were left to sink or swim alone. Today, the UK cooperative sector is still sizable. Over 7,000 cooperatives contributing billions to the UK economy every single year. But most of that is in consumer retail and mutuals, like supermarkets, credit unions, and housing groups. When it comes to worker-owned enterprises, the numbers shrink fast. There's a few hundred digital studios, repair shops, food producers, but very few with more than 50 employees. The kind of industrial scale, worker-led infrastructure that Mondragon built still doesn't really exist here. So while Webb's conclusion may have been incomplete, it wasn't baseless. Co-ops do fail, especially when they stand alone. And that's what makes Mondragon so significant. It didn't just beat the odds, it rewrote the conditions. In 1956, during Franco's dictatorship, and in a region facing deep poverty, 5 workers opened the first Mondragon factory. By the end of the year, there were 23 worker owners. But what followed was incredible. Over the next 3 decades, from 1956 to 1986, that single worker co-op grew into a network of 100 autonomous worker co-ops, employing 19,500 people across manufacturing, banking, retail, and education. That's what they achieved in just 30 years. And it wasn't fragile growth either. Only 3 of those co-ops shut down, which means 97% survived. They upheld the same rules across all co-ops. One member, one vote. And no more than 10% of the workforce can be non-members. These rules were written into each co-op's constitution and taken seriously in practice. That's how they protected democracy while building scale. And naturally, some believed that it only succeeded because of the local culture or because of the influence of the priest. But that criticism actually did them a favour. That forced everyone, including Mondragon itself, to ask why it worked. Was it faith, culture, or something anyone could build if they tried hard enough? What's clear is that Mondragon didn't just survive, it thrived, whilst most of the basket economy around it struggled. They created economies of scale without losing control, and created systems to train new entrepreneurs. They even found ways to support struggling co-ops and convert failing businesses into worker-owned firms rather than letting them collapse. But here's what interests me most. It wasn't that everything worked from the start. They faced strikes, shortages and mistakes like everybody else. What made them different was their attitude, a culture of self-criticism and an unwillingness to give up. Every failure became a design problem, not a death sentence. So maybe the webs weren't entirely wrong. Maybe co-ops are vulnerable when they stand alone. Mondragon just refused to stand alone. In the next episode, we'll look at where that mindset came from and why a region known for shipbuilders and shepherds became the world's most successful cooperative experiment. Follow for part 2.